Welcome to my Jacksonville Jaguars new look rebuild here on Madden 23. The rules are pretty simple. I have 3 seasons to attempt to win a Super Bowl, otherwise this rebuild is considered a failure. Here will be the starting offense for season 1 of this rebuild. I love using Jacksonville because you get to start with a young superstar dev trait quarterback. They drafted Anton Harrison in the first round this year, and then the obvious big addition to this offense is wide receiver Calvin Ridley. On the defensive side, I did move them from a 3-4 over to a 4-3 because it tends to do a little bit better in simulation, and I also moved Trayvon Walker from outside linebacker to defensive end. Before we jump into season 1 here, I am going to add a few players to the team, the first one being defensive back Marcus Peters. We are also going to be bringing in safety Adrian Amos. He's an 85 overall, an immediate upgrade over our current starting safety. Another one I'm bringing in is defensive tackle Matthew. I don't want to try to pronounce your last name, but we are going to bring him in. He's a 75 overall with a star dev trait. We are also going to bring in veteran center Ben Jones. He's currently an 82 overall. I think whenever I looked at that, our starting center was currently a 69, so we're going to look to upgrade that. Our left guard also did not look that good, so I'm going to bring in left guard Dalton Reisner. I'm going to sign one more member to the secondary here. The reason being, I think this team could make a run this season, but the defense needs a little bit of help in terms of overall. So we're going to go ahead and bring in John Johnson as well. Now, this is what the starting offense will look like. Really, the only difference here is Ben Jones and Dalton Reisner. Obviously, we added a few players here on defense. We added a new defensive tackle. We got a new corner in Marcus Peters. We added John Johnson and Adrian Amos. My expectations for season 1 are to win the division and win a playoff game or 2. Last season, they managed to get to the playoffs and beat the Chargers in an incredible comeback. But hopefully this season we can win the division and then get maybe to the AFC Championship. That would be an awesome first start. Well, this season did not go as I expected. We go 7-10 and completely missed the playoffs. We finished 5th in offensive points per game, number 1 in passing yards per game, but 24 in defensive points per game. That is obviously not a recipe for success here. Trevor Lawrence throws for over 5,400 yards, but only 29 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Running the ball, Travis Etienne apparently ran for 21 touchdowns. Okay, that's a little broken. And receiving, Christian Kirk, 115 receptions, 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. Zay Jones got 3, Calvin Ridley got 6, Evan Ingram got 6, Jamal Agnew got 2, and then Parker Washington got 1 actually as a rookie receiver here. On defense, I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. He led the team in tackles with 152. In sacks, Trayvon Walker got 7, interceptions, Josh Allen got 2, Tyson Campbell got 2, Marcus Peters got 2, and Darius Williams got 2. Lawrence actually led the league in passing yards, but in touchdowns, that is going to go to Dak Prescott with 45. Interceptions goes to Mac Jones with 18. On the ground, Jonathan Taylor ran for over 1,800 yards, and it looks like Saquon Barkley ran for 22 touchdowns on the season. Receiving, who led the league in receptions? That would be Christian Kirk. In yards goes to Stephon Diggs, and in touchdowns that goes to Cooper Kupp and Corey Davis, who both got 17. This season's Super Bowl goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, defeating Philadelphia 42-24, led by Super Bowl MVP Joe Burrow. NFL MVP is Dak Prescott, Coach of the Year is Arthur Smith, Offensive Player of the Year is Miles Sanders in Carolina, Defensive Player of the Year is Max Crosby, Offensive Rookie of the Year is CJ Stroud, and Defensive Rookie of the Year is Tariq Woolen. I really can't help the fact that a rookie from last year won it, just kind of how you have to do rebuilds in Madden 23. For re-signing players, we have a small problem. We have about $40 million in cap space, but Josh Allen has no interest in coming back. Not exactly good for us. I can get back our kicker, which is nice. Adrian Amos has no interest. Marcus Peters has no interest. John Johnson has no interest. Dalton Reisner kind of wants to come back. Ben Jones didn't retire and wants to come back. And then just a bunch of players that I feel like I can probably get better at. But let's see if we can offer a contract to Josh Allen here. He is obviously going to want a big contract. We will offer the player-friendly deal. Can we get him back? Thanks for the offer, but I'm not interested in signing. Obviously, that is a pretty big loss, losing Josh Allen. Let's see if we can get back our kicker, Riley Patterson. He thinks free agency will be better for him in the long run. With him declining my contract as well, I'm not going to bring back anybody. We're going to let everyone else walk and see if we can get any better in free agency. Obviously, the defense wasn't that good last season, so having guys like John Johnson and Marcus Peters didn't really help that much. Let's take a look at the roster before we jump into free agency. Obviously, we're going to need a backup quarterback. I may sign one in free agency, may sign one before the season starts. That's not going to be a huge need. At running back, we still have Travis Etienne. At wide receiver, we have Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and Zay Jones still. At tight end, we have Evan Ingram and Brenton Strange. Left tackle is going to be Cam Robinson. Left guard, we have none. At center, we have Luke Fortner, a 71 overall. At right guard, we have Brandon Sheriff. And then at right tackle, we have Anton Harrison. Probably going to need to look at left end. I don't want to try to pronounce this guy's name either. He's only a 74 overall. At right end, we do have Trayvon Walker, who is a superstar depth trade, 84 overall. Defensive tackle, we have Davon Hamilton. Gonna need more help there. Left outside linebacker, obviously a position of need. Middle linebacker, he is a superstar depth trade. I think we're fine there. Right outside linebacker, we lost Josh Allen, so that sucks. At corner, we have Tyson Campbell, and then we also have Darius Williams, who has a trade target young player tag. We'll look to get him some help here. At free safety, we have Andre Sisco, and at strong safety, we have Antonio Johnson, a second-year player. They did draft him last year, but he's only a 70 overall. I'm only offering 3 contracts here in free agency. We don't have a ton of cap space, and there's not a lot of big-name players here. I'm going to try to bring Shaquille Griffin back to Jacksonville. I think he only spent a season here. And then I'm also offering a contract to safety Donovan Wilson and left guard Dalton Reisner. Let's see if any of these guys are going to sign their contracts in this stage. We land all 3, and that will probably be my entire free agency class. Before jumping into the draft, here are the current picks that we own. We have our own 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round pick, also our own 4th round pick. But if you've never seen any of my rebuilds before, the way I do the draft is I only pick the first 3 rounds and then I let the computer take over from there. It just speeds things up. I don't draft that super well in the late rounds anyway. We also have Tampa Bay's 4th round pick, our own 5th round, 2 6th round picks, and a 7th round pick. I am using an auto-generated draft class. I'm not a huge fan of using the user-made draft classes. A lot of times there are some really broken players in there, and to me it just kind of breaks the game a little bit. But let's see who we are projected to take at pick 8. Left outside linebacker Danny Neighbors out of Texas. That is a possibility. We definitely need some outside linebackers. The Arizona Cardinals have the number 1 pick in the draft, and with that number 1 pick, they are going to take right end Rashard Stamper, if I can say his name right. With pick 2, the Minnesota Vikings take right end Phillip Rice out of Oklahoma. With pick 3, Seattle is going to take defensive tackle Jeremiah Hall out of Ohio State. With pick 4, the Texans take outside linebacker Justin James. I almost called him Austin James. So whatever. At pick 5, the Ravens are going to take a tight end out of Texas, Casey Cofield. I'm kind of curious to see how good he will be. With pick 6, the Lions take a right tackle out of Texas. And with pick 7, the Packers take a quarterback out of Kansas and Kerry Hopkins. Looking at these outside linebackers, I'm actually considering passing on Danny Neighbors and taking left outside linebacker Glenn Marshall. He's actually a scheme fit. We don't know near as much about him though, which is a little bit terrifying, but I do know he has A awareness and A play rec. He's also a scheme fit. I think that could be a really solid pick. Let's take a look at Danny Neighbors, see if we know his play rec and awareness. Play rec is between B to D awareness as well. I think we're going to go with outside linebacker Glenn Marshall. I could probably trade down, but no one's really offering a great pick here. So let's just take Glenn Marshall, who does come in with a hidden dev trade. With our 2nd round pick, I'm looking at right outside linebacker Raphael Bishop. He doesn't have great block shedding, but as you can see, he is a scheme fit. And let's go take a look at his skills. He has A awareness, A to C play rec, A pursuit. We're going to go ahead and take Raphael Bishop out of Penn State, and he will come in with a normal depth trait. Not what I wanted to see, but I still think he can be a pretty solid player. In the 3rd round, I'm going to take defensive tackle Caleb Oliver out of Wisconsin. C block shedding, D power move, but B tackle, one of the strongest defensive tackles in the class. And then he also has B awareness and A play rec. So we're going to take Caleb Oliver. He does have a normal dev trait, so not a great draft class from me this time. We ended up taking a 73 overall outside linebacker, a 71 overall outside linebacker, a 70 overall defensive tackle, and then a 68 overall corner, a 69 overall running back, a 69 overall receiver, a 66 overall corner, a 64 overall left tackle, and a 67 overall wide receiver. I would say this draft class was average at best. The 2 best players in the draft were 80 overall, and they are tight end Casey Cofield, who the Ravens took with the 5th overall pick, and wide receiver Pat Craig that the Cowboys took with the 9th overall pick. Before we start this season, I have made one trade here, and I may butcher his name. I think it's Kaylavon Chason. I could be completely wrong, but either way, we're trading him to the 49ers for a 3rd round pick. Not much has changed on the offense for season 2. We obviously changed center because I didn't bring back Ben Jones. I'm surprised Travis Etienne is not a superstar depth trade after getting 21 touchdowns last season, but Christian Kirk now is a superstar depth trade. The defense obviously looks a lot different here. We had to change out a lot of pieces. We lost Josh Allen, but we get Marshall, who is a hidden depth trade, hopefully can develop into a really good player for us. I really don't know what to expect from this team this season. I apparently massively overshot our expectations for season 1. I expected to maybe get to an AFC championship. We finished last in the division and clearly did not make the playoffs. So let's see if we can at least get back to the playoffs here in season 2. A much better season this time. We go 11-6 and win the division, obviously getting into the playoffs. We finish with the number 3 offense in the league, but the number 27 defense, though I don't see how. We're number 4 in touchdowns allowed, 10 in sacks, 10 in takeaways, and 3 in red zone percentage. Let's see, it looks like in yards per game, we allow a lot. We're 25 in passing yards per game and 21 in rushing yards per game. Trevor Lawrence throws for over 5,400 yards again, 39 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. On the ground, Travis Etienne doesn't run for 21 touchdowns this season, but still goes for 14. Receiving, Christian Kirk with 19 touchdowns. Zay Jones got 5. Calvin Ridley got 4. Evan Ingram got 7. Even the backup tight end, Britton Strange, got a couple. Over on defense, the same guy leads the team in tackles with 161. And sacks, Trayvon Walker got 15 this year. And interceptions, 4 from him and 4 from Donovan Wilson. Trevor Lawrence leads the league in passing yards again with 5,400. Touchdowns goes to Jimmy Garoppolo with 46. Teddy Bridgewater threw 44. Interceptions, Jacoby Brissett led the league with 19. On the ground, Josh Jacobs ran for 1,800 yards and 23 touchdowns, good enough to lead the league in both categories. Receiving, Cooper Kupp completely swept it this year, didn't he? 132 receptions, 1,900 yards, and 23 touchdowns. Yeah, all of those are going to lead the league. Here is the first round of the playoffs. We got in as the number 2 seed while going 11-6. That's a little bit surprising to me, but we get to take on the 7 seed Buffalo Bills. And we get out of the wild card round by a final score of 14-16. It was a pretty close game, but we managed to survive and move on. Trevor Lawrence did not play a very good game though. 28 for 43, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. On the ground, Travis Etienne, no touchdowns. How in the world did we score touchdowns? A fullback got one in Derek Parrish. And then receiving, it looks like Stephon Diggs caught 2 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley was our best receiver. Evan Ingram had a pretty solid day though, 6 for 122. In the next round of the playoffs, we get to take on the New York Jets, led by Aaron Rodgers. He did not retire after the first season, still trying to make a Super Bowl run here with the Jets. We do get to jump in on this game though, down by 7 from our own 13-yard line. Lawrence back in shotgun, will take the snap. A quick throw downfield will be knocked out of the air. That brings up a 2nd and 10. Lawrence lines up under center. 1:34 to go in the game. We only have 1 timeout. He drops back to pass. And Lawrence will go downfield an open man. That is caught by Calvin Ridley. He'll be brought down to the 34-yard line. The clock is still running. 1:13. Lawrence takes the snap. He's rolling around the pocket. Now throws underneath. That'll be caught by Etienne, who's brought down at the 40. Now under a minute to play. Back in shotgun again. Lawrence will once again look to pass under pressure, getting sacked on the play back at the 32. We elect to now burn the final timeout. 30 seconds to go in the game. Lawrence out of shotgun, and he will go deep downfield. That'll be tipped in the air and incomplete. 4th and 12. Season on the line. Lawrence back in shotgun from the 32-yard line. He'll take the snap and look to pass. Standing in the pocket, loading up and going deep down the sideline. That will be caught by Calvin Ridley, but there is a flag. What is this going to be? This is probably the biggest penalty of the game. Pass interference on the defense, so we will obviously decline that. But it does manage to stop the clock for the Jaguars. Now 1st and 10 from the 26. Lawrence back in shotgun. He'll take the snap, and he lobs it down the sideline. That's tipped in the air and almost picked off. Why in the world would you try that? 2nd and 10, 14 seconds to go in the game. From the 26-yard line, Lawrence in shotgun will take the snap and look to pass. They're bringing a blitz. He goes downfield, and that is caught for the first down to the 12, and we burn our final timeout. So now with 10 seconds to go, we need to get 12 more yards. Lawrence back in shotgun. Etienne is the running back. He'll take the snap and look to pass. He throws to the back of the end zone. That's tipped around and falls incomplete. 5 seconds left. Lawrence back in shotgun. Can we get into the end zone and keep our season alive here? He stands in the pocket, dumps it underneath. Why would you throw that? EA really has to get better at AI, because that was the dumbest throw we could have possibly made to end the game. Trevor Lawrence goes 29 for 46, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, 17 for 35. Not a great completion percentage there, under 50%. but he does throw 2 touchdowns. On the ground, Breece Hall runs for 100 yards and a score. Receiving, Christian Kirk 7 for 75 and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson 6 for 103 and 2 scores. Aaron Rodgers was 1 win away from getting to face his former team in the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs managed to defeat them 31-17, so it'll be the Chiefs and the Packers, 2 1 seeds. And the Kansas City Chiefs managed to win the Super Bowl 29-26, led by Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes. Dak Prescott gets NFL MVP. Coach of the Year is Doug Peterson, so at least we got that. Offensive Player of the Year goes to Cooper Kupp. Defensive Player of the Year is Micah Parsons. Offensive Rookie of the Year is the quarterback for the Falcons, and Defensive Rookie of the Year is a defensive tackle for the Dolphins. This offseason, we are potentially losing wide receiver Calvin Ridley and defensive tackle Davon Hamilton. I'm actually not going to offer a contract to either guy. Calvin Ridley has a lot of interest in coming back, so we'll see if we can bring him back in free agency, but I want to see if there's anyone better there, and Davon Hamilton just has no interest in coming back. We still have quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who's a 92 overall right now. At running back, we have a 91 in Travis Etienne. At wide receiver, we have Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. Obviously, we will look for another receiver to add to this group here. At tight end, we have Evan Ingram, who's currently an 89 overall, backed up by Brenton Strange, who's a 73 overall. Left tackle is an 82, left guard is an 81, center is a 74, right guard is an 88, and right tackle is an 80 overall in Anton Harrison. Defense, I'm still looking for a left end. I did not see one I liked in the draft last year, did not see one in free agency that I really liked, so we just rolled with him. He's still a 76 overall. At right end, Trayvon Walker is now a superstar X Factor at 88 overall. Defensive tackle, we have one player on the roster. That is the guy I drafted last year in Caleb Oliver. Left outside linebacker, Glenn Marshall's a 79. Middle linebacker, we're still fine. Right outside linebacker, Raphael Bishop is a 75 overall. At corner, we have Tyson Campbell and Shaquille Griffin. May look to add a third one here, possibly. At free safety, we have Andre Sisco, and at strong safety, we still have Donovan Wilson. The contracts I have offered in this free agency is the wide receiver Marquise Brown, defensive back Byron Jones, defensive end Zach Seiler, and then defensive tackle Brian Bresee was here. Don't really know why he was here, but he's 78 overall and a superstar depth trait, so we're going to try to bring him in. Let's see if any of these guys are going to sign. Everyone but Hollywood Brown signed. We land Byron Jones, Seiler, and Bresee. Let's see if we can manage to get Hollywood Brown. I've decided to trade defensive back Darius Williams to the Jets for a 3rd round pick just so we clear up a little bit of cap space. He was a 76 overall and it cleared $10 million in cap. What have I done with that cap space, you may ask? I've upped the offer for wide receiver Marquise Brown and offered a new contract to wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Let's see if we can get either one of them to sign. They are both gone because they have both signed with us. So now our receiving core is a 90 overall Christian Kirk, an 87 overall Marquise Brown, an 83 overall Curtis Samuel, and whatever Zay Jones is, I think he's like an 82 overall. Going into this draft, we have our own 1st and 2nd round pick, and then 3 3rd round picks, and then the rest of our picks are just a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7. Let's see who we are projected to take in the final mock draft of this season. We are expected to take a running back. I can guarantee you that will not happen in the 1st round. The number 1 pick in this year's draft belongs to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We will see where the first 3 draft picks go here. They take a defensive end out of Cincinnati. With pick 2, the Saints take a defensive end out of Ohio State. And with pick 3, the Washington Commanders take a quarterback out of Grambling State. With the 1st round pick we have here at pick 27, I'm going to take center Dan Bennett out of Michigan State. A awareness, A impact blocking, A run blocking. Let's see where he is in strength. He was the strongest center in the class. 100% going to take Dan Bennett, who is a hidden depth trait. This pick might be a bit of a reach, but defensive tackle Franklin Powell out of Florida State is projected to go in rounds 3 to 4, but has B block shedding, B finesse move, A power move, B tackle. He had a pretty solid combine and pro day. C awareness, which is a little concerning, but yeah, I really like this player. We're going to take Franklin Powell, and he will also be a hidden depth trait. With our first 3rd round pick, I'm going to take defensive back Greg Ridley out of Clemson. Comes in with C catching, C man coverage, D press, which isn't great, but he has pretty solid speed. His play rate is a C, which is a little concerning, but we're going to go ahead and take him anyway, and he will come in with a normal depth trait. With pick 21 here in the 3rd round, I'm going to take safety Dion Hargrove out of Southern Miss just to be our backup. He will come in with a normal depth trait. With pick 27 in the 3rd round, I'm going to take defensive tackle Brian Metcalf out of Boston College. He has C block shedding and C power move, but also has B awareness, B play rec, and was one of the strongest defensive tackles in the class, so we're going to go ahead and take him, and he will come in with a hidden depth trait as well. We ended up with a 73 overall center, a 73 overall defensive tackle, a 69 overall corner, and a 67 overall safety, so not great picks here. I did manage to get a 71 overall defensive tackle, then the computer got a 70 overall receiver, a 67 overall tight end, a 69 overall running back, and a 67 overall safety. It was actually a 5-way tie for highest rated player in this draft. A safety for the Dolphins, a quarterback for the Colts, a running back for the Dolphins, a tight end for the Packers, and an outside linebacker for the Raiders. Here is your final offense for this franchise rebuild. The receiver that the computer took late in the draft is actually a hidden depth trait, so our receiving core might be the best in the league at this point. Christian Kirk is now a superstar X Factor, Trevor Lawrence is still a superstar depth trait, Sheriff is still a superstar depth trait, Evan Ingram is now a superstar depth trait, and I think this offense is going to be really good. The defense, however, there's still a few questions on. I had to rebuild the entire defensive line, but I feel like I did a pretty solid job. Now Trayvon Walker is a superstar X Factor, along with our middle linebacker now being a superstar X Factor. I always try to show this before I simulate the final season. We are an 87 overall offense, an 83 overall defense, and an 85 overall team. The obvious expectation for this season, we need to win a Super Bowl, otherwise this rebuild is considered a failure. Season 1 we went 7-10, the second season we managed to win the division at 11-6, and won a playoff game but lost to Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. So let's see if we can get back to the playoffs this year and make a run at a Super Bowl. Let's take a look at stats before we see how well we did this year. Trevor Lawrence goes for 4,900 yards, almost 5,000, 39 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Running the ball, Travis Etienne, 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns. Receiving, Christian Kirk, over 100 receptions, 1,300 yards and 6 scores. Curtis Samuel got 10 touchdowns. Evan Ingram caught 9. Marquise Brown caught 2. Zay Jones got 3. Brenton Strange got 4. Travis Etienne got 2. What about defense? The same guy that's led the team in tackles the entire time got 128. Never going to try to pronounce his name. Sacks, Trayvon Walker got 13.5. Tyler Lacey got 11. Interceptions, he got 2 and Byron Jones got 2. But despite our stats looking like that, we finished 8-9 and missed the playoffs here in season 3. I really don't know what I did wrong here. It just feels like it's a lot of the Madden thing that just randomly seems to simulate games sometimes. We finished as the 9th offense in points per game, but the 24th defense in points per game. So obviously the defense was the main issue the entire time. Don't really know what I did wrong, but this rebuild is obviously considered a failure.